Hello, welcome to the Red Devils Den podcast. I am joined by Vin and Darth. Today we're going to be talking about Man United versus Leeds, first of all, Southampton versus Manchester United, and a couple of other things in between. Um, First of all, Vin, do you want to start us off with your thoughts on that game against Leeds? Because I think we're all quite positive about it, right?
Yeah, I think it was a fantastic opening day. Couldn't have asked for a better result. A lot of good things happened on that day, actually, starting off with the unveiling of Rafael Varane, which I think is one of the classiest and the old-fashioned way of introducing a player to the fans, to the club. I think you couldn't have done it in a better way. In fact, it's been ages since I last remember a player getting unveiled in this fashion. Nowadays it's all about social media posts and fancy videos. So it was nice to see something old school, old fashioned, and that really got the crowd going. That got the fans going at the stadium, and I think that also got the team going. Because I think for all of 90 minutes we were pretty much on the front foot. We were dominant, and we were taking the game to Leeds. And even when Luke Ayling equalized in that second half, I think all of us were pretty much unfazed because we were like, yeah, this has happened before. When they've equalized, we've taken advantage of that situation, and we've gone on to take the lead and then kill the game. And that's exactly what happened. You saw 4 goals getting scored in the next 20 minutes. Pogba had a masterclass, getting 4 assists in a game. He's already overtaken his tally of assists in the league for the whole of last season. So, and it's just one game, but 37 more games to go. So, if he's going to keep up this sort of form, then I think we are in for a treat of a season for Pogba. And Bruno Fernandes getting his hat trick on opening day in front of a packed Old Trafford, brilliant. And not just, and I know these two are going to be the stars of the game, but I think the likes of McTominay, the likes of Lindelof, Dan James, Fred, I think all of them were equally supportive and equally good. And Mason Greenwood as well. I mean, he's shown for his first game as an out and out striker. Essentially, he started out as an out and out number 9, a centre forward. Um, he's shown that he's grown physically, and you can see, and his finishing has always been top notch, no doubt. But you can see with his physical hold-up game and the way he sort of moves around in the center of the pitch, I think that is again a very refreshing sight to see, and we're going to see a lot more of that, I feel. So a great start, top of the table, and now we just got to keep the momentum going.
You hit the nail on the head there. Obviously, some really good performances, but as a team, I think they were absolutely excellent. I don't think you could say really one player let the team down at all. So, but yeah, to ask you, what sort of stood out to you?
What can you say after having literally took everything we all want to say? I don't know. I feel so. Bear with me here. I need to word it correctly, otherwise I look foolish, right? With Varane coming in and Sancho coming in, it adds that bit more of squad depth that we never really had. Like, so Lindelof's unreal for a third-class centre half, by the way. Like, he's Sweden's captain. McTominay, and then Sancho. You add Sancho into that, and he can play multiple positions on the right, on the left and right, which allows Rashford to have a night off, Martial to have a night off, and it's better because every time we rotate the squad, you can see the drop off in class. But speaking about Leeds, oh my God, I was drunk by 11 o'clock in the morning. Like, I was speaking to a friend of mine who goes to football with me, diehard Leeds fan, and I was like, it's probably going to be 1-1. It'll be a cagey affair. It's first game this season. You don't really know how it's going to pan out. It's one of them games. And like, no one can predict the early season. It's horrible to predict it. I don't look at the table till 10 games in, because last year we had record-breaking leaders at the top of the league or something stupid like that. At one point it was Southampton, and you don't look at it early season because you can't. But yeah, back to the Leeds performance. I they didn't offer anything. Like, never once did I go, uh-oh. It was from a screamer they scored. And that was, I'm not even sure he meant to shoot. I think he meant to try it. You know, when you try and do like a outside a foot cross or something, and it's got in, and I didn't feel troubled by Leeds. And it's weird because, like, I hate to say it, and I hope he leaves Leeds, but so I can like him again. But I hope Bielsa is one of my favorite managers in world football, and I hope he leaves so I can like him again. But yeah, and if we're getting performances like that from Pogba every week, now that is the question: can we get it every week? Because I don't doubt his ability. I never will, but can it be week in, week out? And yeah, Mason up top. It's who needs Haaland, eh?
Yeah, exactly. Vin, did you think that it was really a 5-1 performance? Because I was looking at like the XG stats and stuff. I think it was like 1.6 rather than 5 to like 0.6 to Leeds. Apparently, that finishing was really, really good, and we didn't actually create that many chances. But I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think we deserve to win 5-1?
Yeah, I think we did, because like I said, we were on the front foot for most part. Pogba was always looking to make that forward pass to either a Bruno or to Mason. You could see that he was trying to take full advantage of the spaces that Leeds were offering. And like Dart said, they just look haphazard, and that's very unlike Leeds, because the two things that you expect from a Leeds team is that they're going to be absolutely fit, and they're going to keep running up and down for the entirety of 90 minutes, and they're going to press you really well, and they're going to be really intense. And for some reason, after the first 10 minutes or so, that 10-15 minutes after that, that intensity just wasn't there from them, and they were leaving a lot of open spaces. And also it has to do with the fact that Leeds like to man mark a lot. That's one of Bielsa's key strategy, that he likes to man mark the opposition's players. And the fact that we were so fluid in our movement, like our forwards were interchanging positions, it just became difficult for Bielsa's for Leeds to sort of keep up with the man marking, and they eventually gave in a lot of spaces. And all we had to do was play that final pass, take advantage of that space, and have the right players in that position, which we did. And even though the XGs don't really tell you the entire story, I think 1.6 is quite low for a game which had like 5 goals from our end, which is quite absurd. And this is one of the reasons why I'm not entirely sold on XGs. I mean, they're a good stat to have, but they can often paint an inaccurate picture. Like Brighton, for example, their XGs every game are off the roof, and yet they don't score that many goals. So, and this was again one of those odd cases where the XG was low, but the number of goals were high. It just has to do with the fact that we took advantage of their spaces, and we had the right players in the right position.
To be
So
fair,
I think we thoroughly deserve to win 5-1, though.
To be fair, relying on Neil Morphy to score, it's not it, is it?
That's true. But I'm just saying. I'm not. I don't want to comment on Brighton's personnel itself, but just the overall use of the stat. Like, I mean, sure, you can have like an XG of 5, but does that really indicate that that team is actually going to score 10 goals? No, right? So that's my entire point. Like, the XGs aren't necessarily an indicator of a team's performance, and they have to be taken with a pinch of salt, really.
See, XG is kind of like one of my favorite stats, because I don't know why. If you have an XG of 1, you should have. Sorry, someone walked into my room. You should have scored at least 1 goal, right? Because 0.01 of an XG is like an impossible, and it takes into so many elements of who's in the way, defenders, goalkeeper, where you're shooting from, what position, and it's a weird stat to get around, but I like the stat, if that makes sense. But yeah. As you say, it can tell a different story. Like, Bayern could have 5 XG, yet win 1-0. But it could be just one of them games where shooting's off.
Yeah.
But it was like, yeah. And as you say, Leeds had a 0.06 XG, right? Was it 0.6 or something like that?
0.6, I think it was. That's
Right.
just an estimate. I can't remember exactly, but yeah.
That's stupid. But yeah, XG is one of my favorite. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I was sort of worried going into the game because obviously last season we saw that we started really slow because we didn't really have a pre-season. And obviously this year we did have a pre-season, but most of the players on the pitch had only played like one game a pre-season max. So like, I mean, McFred in the middle, I was really worried about them because they'd only played like 45 minutes, and it was like, you know, are they really going to be up to speed? And I was really worried about that. But then you saw them; they were amazing. I don't know how, but they completely defied the logic of last season. When you don't have a pre-season, you don't play well, but somehow they did, and they were able to run just as much as Leeds, with supposed to be the fittest team in the league, and probably had the fittest team in the league. Somehow they managed to do it.
Yeah, you know, like how everyone was criticizing Ollie in the summer for, like, you know, his management of the squad itself, like letting everyone in back for training in batches. Like, for you had a first phase where you had the likes of Lingard and Pereira and Mason coming in, and then you had the likes of Maguire, and then you had Fred, McTominay, Sancho coming in, and I think towards the end you had Pogba, Bruno, Cavani now coming in. So I think what everyone was critical of Oli was that, why don't you get players back sooner? You know, why don't you call them back for training, get them more time to adjust, get back to the fitness levels, and, gel along with those who started off early. I think a lot of our fans were being critical of that fact, but I think he's done the right thing here in terms of managing the squad and giving players the right amount of time, depending on how the workload that they've had last season and during the Euros. Like Cavani, for example, he's given them an extended leave because, one, that was part of his contract, and two, he also played the Copa America. And given the fact that he's 33, 34, you can't expect him to have a quick turnaround like a 22-year-old would. So again, I think he's managed his squad pretty well here when it comes to getting everyone in just in time for training. And some players don't really need an extended break. Like Bruno, for example, when he came back 2 days later, he's playing a preseason game. McTominay and Fred, these are all they're all very fit players, and they're players who generate a very high work rate every game, and so they're used to playing at that level of tempo, at that level of intensity. And so for them, even if they play 45 minutes of preseason, I think that's more than enough for them to keep going. And again, like you said, I was a bit skeptical as well, because we all know Leeds are one of the fittest teams in the league. They play with a high intensity. So we obviously, given the fact that we had our preseason, like not everyone got to play preseason at the same time, there's always this worry that, Leeds might outrun us, or they might, and then eventually outplay us. But turns out that didn't happen at all. That wasn't needed. And I think credit does go to all the staff for the way they managed the players.
Also, regarding Cavani getting an extended break, he had a child June the 3rd.
Yeah, that too as well.
So yeah, his wife had a baby June the 3rd, and I'm sure something came out that he moved all his family to Manchester or something. His wife came with him back to Manchester this time.
Yeah. I think he put up a photo. He put up a photo on social media with his kids, his wife, at his Manchester property.
See, I always make the joke. I reckon Cavani stayed because everything open and he found a good butcher's. Or it's like walking in. What have you got there? Greg's is open. You know what I mean? I was a little concerned because that Preston game getting cancelled, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of them of, we barely had a preseason, really, like first team players didn't. But
Yeah.
hey, I was wrong.
Yeah, and again, and I was saying the same thing on Twitter as well. And you know, like how when players go away on holiday, they have their own specific training routines to sort of go through. And I was like, I'm pretty sure Ollie and the training staff have assigned individual training routines for each and every player. Like Sancho was working out when he was on holiday. I'm sure Bruno was as well. Maguire was as well. So every player must have had an individual training workout to go through when they were on holiday, so that when they come back in training, they don't really have to play too much of a catch-up game. And this is something which I think Ollie and the staff realized, having learned the lessons from last season, when they literally had no time, no preseason, and they started off slowly. So keeping that in mind, I'm sure they must have made some changes and some adjustments, which is why we have started off so well.
So while this can drag on, we can talk about Leeds forever.
Yeah.
Man in a match. Come on, best
Yeah, I
performer.
was just going to move on to that.
Reese, why don't you go first? I want to think for a bit.
Yeah, go.
Yeah, I wanted you to go first. I'm going to go Bruno because I mean, when you score a hat trick, you can't really say it's someone else very often. I mean, Pogba 4 assists is obviously amazing, but yeah, when you score 3 goals, I think you got to give it to Bruno. But yeah, what do you think, Vin?
It's tough between the two, isn't it? Because on the one hand, you have Pogba with 4 assists, who is literally like the playmaker behind the scenes. On the other hand, you have Bruno, who's scored 2 amazing goals and 1 good goal, which came off deflection. But nevertheless, and all 3 of them none of them were penalties. So Fernandes wasn't there for that game. It was genuine Bruno Fernandes on show. I don't know, it's tough really. I mean, but for me, I'll go for Pogba because some of the passes that he made, I think they were sublime, had the perfect weight, had the perfect timing. And again, the passes went in the right direction, and they reached the players just at the right next time. And he was really the playmaker behind the scenes, even besides the assist. I mean, whenever United were on the ball and forward, he was always, trying to progress and ensure the forwards are as high as possible, and always trying to look for that final pass, either Greenwood or Bruno or Dan James even. And so, again, this is a Paul Pogba performance we haven't seen in a long time for Manchester United. So just for that, I'm going to give him man of the match. And if he keeps it going, hey, you never know. 21 might just be coming.
Yeah, if he keeps going, I might be saying some daft things on the podcast pretty soon.
Dad, what do you think? Who's your man of the match?
I am
tough, isn't it?
I am stuck between about 8 players. Bruno, because Bruno, unplayable, like just did everything, got a hat trick, like Pogba 4 assists, unreal, like Maguire I thought Maguire was great in commanding his back line better than he has been, if that makes sense. Like, he wasn't dragged out any position or anything. He marshaled it really well. Maybe that's because Fred was in front of him, because at times it really did look like a 4-3-3, which is odd, or a 4-1-4-1. It's so weird, but I don't know. Probably Pogba, just for the ball to Greenwood in which he scored. Was it the fourth?
Perfect.
That ball was just class, and Greenwood had Ayling for pace, and it's not even funny. Like what Greenwood runs has like really similar like running style to Robin van Persie. Like they don't look
big strides, big leaps.
Yeah, but they don't look quick, but they are, and it's And I'm like, Robin, I'm gonna need a DNA test there, son. But yeah,
Mason Van Greenwood, is it?
Yeah, Mason Van Greenwood. What do you mean? It's Mason Van Gunwood.
My bad.
Yeah. That Reese, who was yours? Or we already done you?
I already said Bruno, yeah.
Yeah.
Just on Pogba, I I think Pogba's going to have, he easily could have got man of the match today. I probably agree with you to do that. He's just as good as Bruno, if not better. But I think he's going to have the best season he's had for us so far, because when you look historically, I've said this on the podcast before, but Pogba has been.
Reece, do you want to repeat that? You kind of cut out, like went stupidly quiet.
Oh, right. Am I back now?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, nice. In terms of Pogba, he's been sort of inconsistent across, since he came to the club, but I think the team has been just as inconsistent as him. When he's been going through poor periods, the team has been going through poor periods, and they've sort of coincided with each other. And if you look when the team has been doing well, Pogba has been one of the most important players for us. If you look at when Ollie first came in, those first 3 months, Pogba was the star of the show. Last season when we were doing well and he was playing on the left, he was the star of the show then as well. Right up there with Bruno. In the Leeds game, he was the star of the show because we were playing well. So I think we're really set for a really good season this year. So I think he's going to have the best season he's had so far for us, 100%.
So, regarding Pogba, I'll say one more thing before we move on. I found a video and it was Darren Fletcher talking about Pogba when he was in the youth team, and he was saying that Pogba doesn't have the discipline to play a pivot. He never did. He could never play centre mid, but it was always better in the attacking, side, further up the pitch, where he's playing now on the left. And I'm like, Darren Fletcher might be it, But yeah, I saw that earlier and I was like, oh, right. Maybe Ollie knew that and went, you're not playing centre mid anymore, son. Come here.
But what I do want to ask is, he's playing left wing for now because Rashford's out, right? When Rashford comes back, is Pogba going to be in that midfield, or are we then going to revert to a 4-3-3 where he's going to play one of the two midfields up front?
I can see 4-3-3 coming in then when Rashford's back, but then I reckon it'll give Rashford more of an incentive to do great in training, give Ollie a headache and push his game, because it's like, oh shit, I'm now under pressure.
That is going to happen for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, good. I don't know. I can't wait.
It's a good problem to have, isn't it? It's a good problem to have when you got so many players. And,
also, one more thing about Ollie's man management is what made it absolutely world class was, in December when Raiola went nuclear.
Yeah.
Regarding Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
Day before the Leipzig game.
Yep.
He didn't address it. Didn't say anything. Nothing. And I'm like, but behind the scenes, I reckon he's.
Behind the scenes, he's given them a slapping for sure.
And how Pogba played in that game, I went, oh. I thought Pogba was okay. First half an hour, we were dreadful because that's when we went 3-0 down or something, 2-0. I forget. But
didn't Pogba come on in that game? I don't think he started, did he?
Half time or something. I don't know. It was a while ago. Come on, man.
I don't know.
I remember that game. He came on at halftime, and I think he was involved in the 2 goals that we scored. He scored one of them. I think he assisted the other.
Did he hit the bar last minute?
Yeah, he did hit the bar last minute. It was him, I think. So yeah, he had a very good game. A very good half, surprisingly. But yeah, again, it's just the only problem with Pogba has been his inconsistency in his time so far at United. Yeah. And it's not entirely down to him, in my opinion. I just feel that because we've had different managers. We first had Jose, who had a different philosophy, wanted to use him differently. And then you had Ollie, who came in, and now he's using him. And ever since he's come in, he's wanted to use Pogba in the right manner. He said that he wants to build a team around the likes of Pogba and Bruno. And also the fact that the kind of players that Pogba had around him under Jose, likes of Fellaini, and then you had Smalling, Valencia, Sanchez. I just don't think that was bringing the best out of him. But now that the squad that Ollie's assembling, you have likes of Bruno, Sancho, Greenwood, Cavani, Rashford, Varane, Maguire. I think he's starting to realize that okay, there's something going on here, and this is a very good team. And if I leave and if they start winning, it's gonna be my loss. So he's probably thinking that you know what, I'm gonna play the season out, see what happens. It's looking good, and if we start winning things, then at the end of the season, I'll sign a new contract.
It's going to be controversial here. I reckon he signed a deal behind Raiola's back. Because
I don't think that happens ever.
I
mean, as much as
reckon-
I want Pogba and Raiola to split up, it's not going to happen. Believe
I
me.
reckon Pogba wants to stay, Raiola wants to leave, because as of next year, their agent fees are like being drastically reduced.
Yeah.
So I reckon he's like, I want to move now. Can we move now? Can we move now? And Pogba's like, no, I don't want to go. Look what's going on here.
Exactly.
But yeah,
I mean,
I can talk forever on Pogba. We could
yeah.
all
I mean, let's not
Pogba.
get in there. Let's not get in there because there's like a lot more stuff we need to be.
Maybe do it in depth. Pogba.
Yeah, maybe another time I'll go more in depth on him. But yeah, we've talked about these game and stuff for ages. So next thing is transfers. I don't know how long I'll spend on this because there's not really much to talk about at the moment. But Vin, do you think we're actually going to sign anyone? Because Samuel Luckhurst was saying, wasn't he? It's unlikely we're going to sign anyone else. Maybe we can raise some funds. I don't know.
A week ago, before the Leeds game, I was a bit. I wasn't that optimistic about signing anyone because, again, we weren't getting any news on any outgoings like the likes of Pereira and Lingard, and if not permanent sales, at least something about a loan. We weren't getting any of that. But now after the Leeds game, seeing that Pereira has gone to Flamengo on loan. There's an option for him to buy at 20 million at the end of the season if he does well, which I think he will. And Flamengo might just bite that. So let's see how that goes. And obviously now there's news of West Ham coming back for Jesse Lingard. I was surprised that deal didn't happen soon. I'm surprised that West Ham have been waiting out for so long, probably trying to get like a cheaper fee, but I don't think anything has changed on that front. Still think it's the same price that United quoted at the beginning of the transfer window. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes, but I do expect him to go there eventually because we had a couple of those screenshots from the West Ham first coach and the West Ham third choice goalkeeper saying, oh, we expect you to come back to training with us and soon and you know what to do and all of that. So I'm assuming he leaves eventually. It might get dragged down to the last week, but I think it eventually happens. And then after that, I have a feeling we do make a push in the last week of the transfer window for a midfielder. It could be Neves. It could be Saul. Camavinga doesn't look likely. Rice definitely doesn't look likely. But it's going to be... I wouldn't be surprised because, again, Saul and Neves have been linked all throughout summer. Right, all throughout the window. So I wouldn't be surprised if we eventually make a bid at least for one of these two. Whether we get them or not is there to be seen later, but I think we will make a bid for one midfielder at least.
Yeah, fair enough. I think it really is 50-50. I think if we can sell a Lingard or something like that, maybe we can get, I don't know, a Neves or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, I don't think Neves or anyone like that who are being linked to is really Ollie's first choice. I think he probably wants to wait next year to get someone who's better. And I think historically with Ollie, we've waited until the next summer because there's no point getting Neves who's not really going to take it to the next level, and then we can't get a Saul or something like that next year or Camavinga. So yeah, I think we're probably going to get no one, and then we're going to get a top midfielder next year. Who that is, I don't know. Probably guess Camavinga, but it could be someone who we haven't been linked to yet. I don't know. What do you think, that?
I'm like Finn. I'm like, oh no, what do we do? Because our midfield is still short. Like after McTominay, Fred, Pogba, and Matic. That's all we've got. 4 midfielders, and Garner's going on loan, so no Garner ball this season, unfortunately. Back to Nottingham, Nottingham Forest. Yeah, okay, I like it. Dylan Levitt went on loan to Dundee, so that's another midfielder out. But I don't. Maybe I can see. I can see Ole going, I need another midfielder. It doesn't have to be on my first choice. Maybe he settles for Neves, or everybody knows my choice because I have a weird obsession of Sol. Give me Sol, please. That's all I want from him. Nah, if we get Neves, I'll be happy with Neves. I think he's good. I don't know. I have a doubt if he can step up from Wolves to United level. If that makes sense, can he reach that next level of?
I think it'd be easier for him at United, to be honest, because we're definitely the sort of team that controls games more than Wolves do, because they just sort of sit back. And but when you're a team which finds it easy to control possession, I think Neves will thrive.
Now
it's the same as Winks or anyone like that as well.
That's the thing. I think Ollie wants a midfielder he can play for. So what Matic used to do when he was like 24 at Chelsea, like he would sit there, but he would control it all. Like Jorginho would be perfect in Ollie's system, and it's so annoying. Rodri too, but Ruben Neves can do that. Sol doesn't. Atletico Madrid, they bypass him a lot because he isn't that playmaker. If in essence, but I think Ollie's top choice is Declan Rice.
Right.
That's from just from reading stuff like from the Athletic.
I think obviously Declan Rice is his first choice, but I think Ruben Neves would be his second choice. I think you can't necessarily put Saul in that list because again, the profile of Saul and say someone like a Rice or Neves is kind of different because Saul, I feel that Saul is someone who can play in that pivot, who can do both the defensive and the attack progressive duties that is needed in that midfield pivot. Whereas Rice or Neves, they are most on the defensive side, I think. Again, if you look at how Declan Rice plays for West Ham, he does a lot of the defensive destroyer work when off the ball, and then he just progresses the ball forward and then doesn't create the play in itself. He's just the one who gets the ball and then passes it forward and then passes it on to the creative midfielder or the attacker, whoever it may be. He's not the playmaker as such, but he's just like the destroyer and the progressor. Saul, on the other hand, can do both. He can be the playmaker and be that carry out those responsibilities at the same time. So I think if you're thinking about a midfielder that's in the pivot, Saul fits. But if you're thinking about having that sole holding midfielder in a 4-3-3, then either of Neves or Rice are good fits for that. So it really depends on the kind of profile he wants to go for.
So I watched. It was Mike Phelan was on our podcast. I'm sure it was Vibe with Five with Stephen Howson.
Yeah. Rio Ferdinand.
Yeah, they were talking about midfielders, and from what I gather from that, they don't see midfielders as 10, 8s, and 6s. They see midfielders as someone that can do every job.
Exactly.
Right? They want someone that can play as a 6, play as an 8, play as a 10. They want someone like a midfielder that can do all. That's why I liked Herrera. But hey.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've been saying for so long. I mean, Ollie's not necessarily looking out for a defensive midfielder or an attack midfielder. He is looking for someone who can, and this is something which we have seen of United teams in the past as well. Like our midfielders used to be, when off the ball, they used to be destroyers, and when on the ball, they used to be progressors and creators, like the likes of Scholes and Carrick and Hargreaves, even for that matter, Anderson for that matter. All of them were able to carry out defensive duties as well as, when on the ball, progress the play forward. And if you can play the final pass, So that's the kind of midfield. That's the kind of player that Oli wants to have in that midfield. It's not necessarily just. And again, this is a misconception which I've seen a lot, and I have mentioned in my thread, where just because you're playing 4-2-3-1, the two midfielders are defensive midfielders. No, they are not defensive midfielders alone. They are hybrid midfielders who can play as a 6 when off the ball and play as an 8 or a 10 on the ball. They're supposed to do both. And you need like a high work rate, and you need to be dominant and energetic on the field, which is why McTominay and Fred have been working against most teams.
Yeah.
Right. Because they have.
I was going to say that.
Exactly. So they can do, because they've played for so long together, and they have the capability, they have the ability in their locker to carry out both sides of the duties. So again, so from that perspective, I think Saul is a better fit. But again, if he's looking to turn into a 4-3-3, then Rice or Neves would be absolutely ideal.
Particularly Rice, I think, if we move into a 4-3-3, because I think he just offers a little bit more defensively. Neves is sort of, I think Rice is ideal for next season, but not this season.
Yeah, let's see how it goes. I think.
But then just say we buy Rice, and we all know Ollie's love affair with Haaland. We don't buy both, right? So I don't know. Maybe buys Neves and we buy.
I think we're looking. I think we're looking at getting Rice and Haaland next season. I think next summer is what
an expensive summer. Actually, maybe Rice for 80 and 75 for Haaland.
75 Haaland. Rice, I don't think he's going to be 80, because again, he's not going to sign a new contract. And next summer, I think he has 1 year or 2 years left. I'm not entirely sure
I'm
about
not
the
sure
contract situation about him. Yeah, but I think it won't be 80 million for sure. It might be somewhere around 50, 60. I think West Ham will have to budge. If had Wright signed a new contract, then they would have quoted any price they want. Understandable. But since he isn't signing a new contract and he is looking for a move away, I mean, something around 50, 60 should be fine for next summer. And again, you have the likes of Matic, who might go away, who might be let go of.
Pogba might be going.
Eric Bailly. I mean, depends if he signs a deal or not. If he doesn't sign, he leaves on a free. So you're not getting anything from that apart from saving wages. But the likes of Eric Bailly could go. The likes of Matic could be sold. So that you could recuperate some. The likes of Martial as well could be in question next summer.
Well, Cavani's going next summer as well.
But he's done anyway, so he's going to go off for free. Again, but you save wages for sure.
Books, so.
But again, you're looking at somewhere around 50 million being generated in sales. So that covers for one signing, and then you can trigger the release clause for Haaland. So in effect, you'd spend only 75 million and get 2 players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I can see it. But we can talk about this all day, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I was going to talk about Lingard, because I mean, after this, it's just Williams to Norwich, and then Southampton games. We might as well speak for a couple of minutes about Lingard. I think quite harsh letting him go there, because I think he is going to get games at United, and I think I'm really sort of frustrated that he didn't start against Leeds and he got obviously the coronavirus, because I think he would have absolutely starred in that game. I think it was perfect for him. I don't think James had. Obviously, he was bad because obviously contributed to a team performance. But I think if you put Lingard in ahead of James, I think he would have suited that game even better. And I think he'd probably be a better squad player than him as well. Nothing against James, because I rate him. But I think James just offers Lingard just offers a little bit more, especially in certain games when he gets that space. And he thrives in big games as well when he does get that space and he can score goals, get assists. We saw him for West Ham last season, absolutely in the form of his career. So I think he can still do a job for us, to be honest. But then again, if you get 20 mil, then maybe that's worth it. I don't know. What you guys think?
Yeah, I love Lingard because he's a fan, right? He embeds all of us just like how he acts when he sees fans. He's like, let's go. Like there's videos of him kicking a ball about with kids in Manchester area, stuff like that. Like he is what we all want to be, right? Just a fan playing for his boyhood club. But it's tough, right? And I love Lingard for that reason. But you've got to cut your losses sometimes, and he doesn't thrive here because no team ever affords United space because it's Manchester United. No matter how we've fallen off or whatever, every team will go, we beat United. We got a point off United. You know, we are every team, majority of teams cup final, right? That is when they play their heart out every week against us because it's Manchester United, the world's most dominant team in like English football, stuff like that. But he can't get the space like ever. Like if Arsenal signed Maddison, Leicester would have been a good side for him to go to because they play that counter-attacking football. West Ham are good for him, but yeah, 20 million towards another midfielder. Yeah, go get Ruben Neves for 35 million. There we go. Easy.
That's fair enough. Vin, would you consider keeping Lingard at all, or is it just take the 20 mil?
Yeah, I mean, look, I love Jesse. Okay, he's generated some pretty amazing moments for us. You know, be it scoring the final goal in the FA Cup final, or tearing Arsenal apart every time we go to the Emirates. You know, many moments like that. And look, he loves United, no doubt. I'm not questioning that. And he's a talented player. He can play in multiple positions. He can play in the right way. He can play on either of the wings and play as an attacking midfielder, as number 10. And look, if as much as I would have liked for him to be a part of the squad, I feel Jesse is the kind of a player who deserves to be first choice in another team. I think, you know, yes, he loves being part of the squad, but internally, if he wants to play for England and he wants to get back playing regularly for England, if he wants to be like a top player, you know, I don't think he's going to get that game time at United. And I don't think Ollie has anything as such against him. It's just that maybe he's looking for a different profile of a player in those attacking positions, right? Which is why I think Dan James gets the nod over him on most occasions. Because again, it's a specific profile of a player against a specific opposition, against a specific setup of play. Which again, it's not like Jesse doesn't fit against any of them. Jesse does. It's just that I think Ollie's looking for something a bit more, right? Which Jesse is probably not providing at the moment. And I think Jesse's favorite position, which we saw at West Ham, was that number 10, where Bruno plays that attack midfielder position. I think he thrived there brilliantly. And I think that setup works for him because there he can be one of the star players. There he can be one of the team's, the showman of the game. And for that reason, I think a team like West Ham, a team like Leicester even would be a great fit for him. And as much as I would have liked for him to work things out with United, but you know, he's like 26, and if he wants to, like, he's approaching his peak. In fact, he is in his peak. And so if he needs to like really be in that England setup, like for real week in, week out, then you know, he needs game time, and for that he's not going to get that at United, unfortunately, because you have Bruno and then you've got Van der Beek as well who can play in that number 10 position, and so Jesse falls third in line. And with Sancho, Ahmad, James, with Martial, Rashford as options on the wings, you know, again, he's going to fall down the pecking line. And I just feel it's best for him if he goes to a place like to one of the mid-table teams, at least. I think that's where he would be a really good fit, in my opinion.
I don't know how breaking this is, but it might have been within 5 minutes. David Moyes said they're still interested in Lingard.
Yeah, I think this was said. I think he said this at the end of last season as well. But he said that we're interested in getting him for like.
He said it again today. So yeah. No, I just quick scroll there and went, oh, He said this, as in, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they get him eventually. I think this deal will happen. I think 20-25 million is something that you're looking at as transfer fee, and I think that goes towards obviously we along with Tuanzebe's 5 million low fee, the loan fee for 5 million. You add that as well to Jesse Lingard's transfer fee and the 1 million loan fee for Pereira. You're looking at something around 30, 32-ish. We would have liked more. You would have liked to get more, preferably from the loan or the sale of Diego Dallo, but he's here to stay, so I'm fine with that, Reese. In case you're wondering, I'm fine with it. It's okay.
I'm okay with Dallo playing as long as he plays in the FA Cup against Burn Albion.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll play in the cup competition. He'll play in like the initial group stages against like teams which against the not so big teams. So I expect him to play there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure. I mean, if he does well, I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be any more happier. And but yeah, I think 32 million is what we're looking at in total. And if we can use that along with whatever change we have from the Sancho and Varane savings to push for a midfielder, then I think that might happen last week.
Deadline week scramble for a midfielder, maybe.
I guess.
That could happen.
Yeah, maybe. So I almost dropped my phone. But yeah, Williams to Norwich. That was, well, it seems to be really gathering pace. Apparently he had his medical today, so it looks like that's going to happen. Vin, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think Williams has a future at United, especially with Ethan Laird coming through?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because now you've got Dallo as well, who's young. You've got Wan-Bissaka, who's young, and you've got Ethan Laird coming through, who's at Derby, I think.
No.
It's a Derby.
Swansea. No? Get it right.
Oh, Swansea. Right. Yeah. My bad.
It's lad season, bro. Come on.
Yeah, my bad. I haven't been following the academy much, to be honest with you, lately.
Nah. I want rid of this guy. You don't follow this guy. Apollo, where you at?
He'll join shop. He'll join next time. But I think for Brandon, again, it's a bit difficult, right? Because it's a great move for him. He needs game time. Norwich is a good team to be in. Daniel Farke likes to be attacking. He likes to play an attacking style of football. It's not very defensive, so I think it would complement his progression as a player. But coming back, once he comes back, where is he exactly?
Tellez will go.
Going to.
Tellez will go, and then he will come.
But isn't he? He's like a right back, isn't he?
Yeah, but I think he's just as good at left back, to be honest. Might be right footed.
Yeah, it's funny because I was going through his profile. He's left footed, but he plays at right back, and I was like, how's that going to work? Like,
it's a bit inverted wing backs.
Yeah, exactly. But I always felt that if he has to play in a full back position, it has to be the left back because you play with a natural foot.
This is probably how it's going to work. He'll loan to Norwich. He'll come in next year and be Tellez' replacement when we sell Tellez and then take over, sure?
Yeah, I mean, again, that is, for Norwich, for Brandon to fit into the team, one of the backup fullbacks has to go, be it Tellez or Dallo, whoever it may be. One of them has to be sold, so that creates a space for him. Because Ethan Laird isn't going anywhere. He's going to come back.
Dallo's going to be sold anyway, either this year or next year. Sorry, Reese.
We'll see what happens if he plays.
Maybe next year, not this year for sure. He's going to stay this year.
Yeah,
but next year,
he'll stay this year because with Laird going and Williams going, I think Ollie's went, all right, I'll take Tellez and Dallo as cover.
Yeah,
fair enough. Good cover, adequate cover.
So are you expecting Laird and Brandon to be the backups for next year?
Yes.
Fair, from next year onwards.
Yeah.
I think Laird might get a Premier League loan, to be honest.
I'm surprised he didn't, but then the manager at Swansea loves him. When he was at MK Dons, he was MK Dons manager.
Yeah.
And he joined Swansea. So that's why it took him.
Oh, makes sense.
Big brain. I keep up with all the football, mate.
Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, so talked about transfers, Leeds game, etc. Why not move on to Southampton versus Manchester United? So, Vin, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think we're going to make it 2 from 2? Feeling positive?
Yeah, I'm feeling optimistic and positive heading to the game. Southampton, they faced defeat in the first game to Everton. Yeah,
Wait,
right. I got that
3-1.
right.
3-1.
Exactly, 3-1. Yeah. Yeah, I think Southampton have been a bit weakened with the departures of Danny Ings, Westergaard. Obviously, James Ward-Prowse signed a new contract, but he's the only star in that team. Like he's the only main player in that team. Of course, there is the two Armstrongs, but they haven't really made their mark yet. I think it's going to take a bit of time for them to sort of establish. Then there's Shea Adams, obviously, but again, he sort of fires hot and cold. So from on paper, they don't really look much of a threat. And I had tipped them to go down the season. In the previous podcast, I had Southampton were one of my 3 teams who would go down, who would get relegated. So from that perspective, I think this should be on paper. This should be a relatively comfortable game. We've obviously thrashed them 9-0. And before that, we came back from 2-0 down to win 3-2. So
Cavani.
that was a
I thought I broke
game,
my
right?
thumb.
But yeah, but the only thing that Southampton would have as an advantage is the fact that it would be they would have fans back in their stadium. So last season we had an unbeaten away record, but one thing that was left out was the fans factor, right? But now that the fans are going to be back, it'll be interesting to see how we sort of keep up with that. Do we keep that away unbeaten record going? Because playing away with fans is a difficult fixture in itself. It's a difficult setting, right? It's easy when you're playing in an empty stadium because the home advantage factor goes away. But now that fans are coming back, that home advantage factor is very much going to be there. So it'll be interesting to see how the home support spurs Southampton on, and how we sort of deal with it. It'll be interesting, but on paper, I think should be a confident win. Yeah,
I'm kind of the same here. Confident win. Like Southampton don't look. I haven't gave my views yet on the table outcome. I'll probably post a tweet about it. So keep an eye out. There's some controversy. There's never controversial views. Yeah, no, they look really weak. Losing Vestergaard and Danny Ings, which Danny Ings to Villa was an absolute unreal sign, and it came out of nowhere. Like,
yeah,
I was like, what? What's going on?
It was also quiet.
It's really, but yeah, Southampton. Yeah, it'll be a strong. I'm gonna go 3-0. I don't think it'll score. I don't think it'll cause us issues because they play similarly to Leeds. I was gonna say Wolves then, not Wolves.
Yeah, they do play.
Leeds. They press high. They set traps for you to fall into that press. It's really similar to Leeds style. So yeah. I reckon Ollie's when Dewey did last week against Leeds, and we'll win. What else was mentioned? I completely forgot. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of them, isn't it? Yeah, we'll make it 2 from 2. We need to. Home advantage. Yeah, last year there was a lot of away wins that you didn't expect. A lot. Yeah. Home advantage is real, and I don't care what anyone says. It's one of them, isn't it?
It's because we got fans back now, and obviously last season, there wasn't really a home advantage at all because without fans, there really isn't much of a difference, is there?
No.
Reece, what do you think? Are you confident? Are you a bit cautious? What are you?
Yeah, you two summed it up. I think 3-0. But yeah, I mean, as Dar said, the way they play just suits us. We have players who want to run in behind. I think Greenwood will probably start up front. Maybe it's Martial, but probably be Greenwood. Sancho might get his first game. So yeah, really excited. Yeah, speaking of...
Are we doing predicting lineups already?
Yeah,
we're gonna do lineups.
yeah, I'll jump onto
Okay.
that. Yeah, let's jump onto that. So, um, Vin, who do you think is going to start? Who's your goalie? Who's your defense?
So okay, let's start with the back five. David De Gea obviously starts in goal. Dean Henderson has just started training, so he's not fit yet. Don't expect him for another couple of weeks at least. So David De Gea till then. Back four is the same as it was last week. Wan-Bissaka, Shaw, Maguire, Lindelof. I don't think Varane is just ready yet. He would be on the bench, but I don't think he starts. You can expect him to start maybe from the game after that, which is Newcastle and then Wolves, West Ham, whatever. So, but not for this one. So the back four remains the same. Actually, the back five remains the same as against Leeds. What do you think? Back five same?
Exactly the same. I wouldn't start Varane yet. He's all this shenanigans with isolating when nobody else's transfers had to. By the way, nobody else. Like ours is conveniently the only one. Like Lukaku didn't, not once. And I'm like, what? Come on.
Yeah, I think there's some weird travel regulations out there where it's like if you are in France for a couple of days, you move to England, you don't need to quarantine, and it's weird. It's all messed up.
And I'm like, it's like who did like Arsenal's signings, the one from Belgium and Portugal, didn't have to isolate.
Lokonga and who's the other one?
Tavares or something.
Tavares, yeah.
Oh no, Tavares.
Yeah, they didn't have to isolate either, and I'm like, are we just the only club here?
Maybe Varane wasn't fully vaccinated. That's just my guess.
I don't know.
I don't know. Let's see. But yeah, I don't think he starts as well.
But yeah, back four is exactly the same. I'm probably gonna go Scott and Fred again.
Yeah.
Oh wait. Oh no. I'm gonna wait. No. Yeah, and then Pogba on the left, Bruno in center, Sancho on the right, and Greenwood up top.
Yeah.
That's
spot on.
Race same.
Yeah, exactly the same.
I'll go for that as well. But yeah, so it's the same thing as Leeds. My only change would be Sancho and James. That would be the only change I'd make.
That's it.
I mean, if you want to be a bit experimentative in the midfield, you might get, say, Van de Beek. I don't know if Van de Beek would be
honest.
No, yeah.
In that pivot. No.
I mean, you're playing against Southampton, who I know
they press
and
press. I rate Rafael Hasselhutten anyway. I think he's a good manager. I'm surprised Arsenal didn't go for him. He would be better than what Arteta is doing. Let's all laugh at Arsenal anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Hasenhüttl is I just feel they're not going to be as pressing or as open as they were, because I think Hasenhüttl has learned his lesson from last season.
The 9-0, yeah.
The 9-0 thing, right? Where they were pressing and attacking throughout, even in the second half. It was like heading to halftime, it was 4-0 or 5-0 or something. And then even the second half, they came out exactly the same. Like they came out, they were still attacking, they were still pressing, and they just didn't learn their lesson.
Like I was watching the football Man United Leeds game, and the commentators, like I'm sure one of the commentators was a former Leeds women's player on BT Sport, and she was just like, Leeds have been great today. They're 4-1 down. It's like last year when we battered them 6-2. Gary Neville was like, oh, they were so brave. What?
What's the point of being brave if you're going to get fast?
Yeah.
What you mean they were so brave?
That's Leeds propaganda. That's for another day.
Horrible. It's like
coming to Southampton and Hasenhüttl don't receive the same treatment, so we're good on that at least. But yeah, I just have a feeling that Southampton might be a bit defensive. They might sit behind, form a low block, and then in that case, McTominay and Fred may not be the best midfield strategy, which is why I think Van Beek might be into the shout. So it really depends on how Southampton set up.
We won't know until Sunday, and hey,
exactly, right? I mean, so you could, if they're defensive, they're setting back, then you might see Van de Beek coming on at halftime. Although I do think McTominay and Fred start, But if Southampton are not as pressing and as aggressive as they usually are, then you could expect Van de Beek to come in.
I think first 15 minutes, Southampton will try and get a goal, and they can go, and then sit back. Do what Leeds did, honestly. Just it's a copy and paste, only we're away.
Yeah.
I think we'll see Varane in the second half for Lindelof.
No, yes. I think Lindelof will stay on. I don't think.
Oh, it would just bring Varane on for like Scott McTominay or something.
What?
No, I don't think Varane. Does Varane make his debut? That's a good question.
Yeah, will he bring him on as a sub? Surely.
Like for the last 10 minutes, like how Sancho came on.
Yeah.
Well, it's different with a centre back, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's a world-class centre half.
Yeah, I mean, if we're like 3-0 up, then maybe.
If it's like 1-0, I wouldn't take that risk.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. And anything else you guys wanted to touch on?
Yes.
Oh, what are we doing? Score predictions.
At the end, go on, Dash.
Oh wait, no, we're gonna do a score prediction. I have one more thing.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm gonna go 3-0. 3-0 United.
Please.
I think I'll go with 3-0 as well. Yeah, that sounds about right to me.
3-0, huh? Yeah, I think I'm gonna go for 3-1. I think we do concede somehow. It'll be a free goal. It won't be the fault of any of our defenders or goalkeeper. It'll just be
it'll be like Ward-Prowse free kick or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things, right? It'll be a fantastic free kick, and it just be.
It'll be like 35 yards out. You look at it and go, "Yeah, all right."
Yeah, that's going in top corner. So yeah, it could be one of those things, but yeah, I think we will win 3-1.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well.
Yeah. So, what was you going to touch on, Dash?
I want to stand with the King, Dennis Law, in his battle against dementia.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The
King, Dennis Law. Stand by him. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah. Let's hope he's well, and send all our prayers and all our love to one of the icons of the club.
Mm-hmm. One of the greats of Manchester United.
Yeah, dementia is an awful thing. I mean, my mum worked with people with dementia for like 20 years, up until like 5 years ago. So, yeah, from her, I know exactly what it's like to, forget who your family are. It sounds absolutely awful. So, yeah, but I think that's all we have to talk about. So, thank you everybody for listening. If you're on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe. Elsewhere, follow. But yeah, thanks a lot.